Welcome, friends, to the Here I Go Again podcast, where we discuss life, faith, politics, and a whole lot more. I'm your host, Rob Standridge, and I'm glad you're joining us today. So with that, here we go. Welcome to the Here I Go Again podcast. This is episode number 20. This is the 20th anniversary, whatever you want to call it, episode with my good friend, Senator David Bullard. And David, welcome. This is awesome. We've been talking about this for a little while. I've been actually meaning to have you, but now we're in the middle of primary runoff. So I think this is a great time to have you on. Just a brief intro. You know, David and I sat on the back row for a number of years.
Back row Baptist, baby.
Back row Baptist, that's right. And you're one of my best friends I've ever had in the Senate, and I mean that sincerely. Yep. We're like brothers when we served, literally brothers. Band of brothers, if you would. We had a couple others, but you and I, we had a great relationship and still do. So I'm anxious to hear what's going on in your world. I think some pretty cool things went on this weekend. Maybe you could share with us.
Yeah, very cool.
And what's going on in these races. So how's life treating you?
Yeah, you know, it's going good right now. We're running. Of course, I've got one that I just put in college up here in El Reno, and she's doing good. But that's
at Redlands, right?
At Redlands, and she's going to be doing embryology there and animal science, and then moving on to ag business. She's another business person.
So would she go to OSU after Redlands? Okay.
Yeah, her scholarship would transfer up to OSU.
All the way to Ohio.
All the way. Yeah, right. Yeah, we're not going to be a Buckeye. And but she's doing good, but you know that's been tough on us. Well, we found out that in Canadian County they were doing their big show, their big county fair,
which is an amazing facility.
I'm jealous because I'd like for Bryan County to have that same thing.
Yeah.
And so we took Abby, my youngest, who shows a steer and a goat, and we took her up there to show just her steer. And she did good. She won breed champ, 1 out of 1. She was the only one in her class, and so she did a great job. It's a lot of fun. Showing has been one of those good things. You know, it teaches people how to live without sleep. And so we get that lesson every time we show somewhere because we don't ever get any sleep. But
was it yesterday?
That was yesterday.
Yesterday, yeah.
So it was a good time. You know, it's just busy right now, and you and I are both watching country in turmoil right now.
It is. It's crazy.
I think we're seeing in our state some of the similar things, and it sure is nice to go to something like a county fair like that and watch good kids. You almost see the future of your state right there, and you realize, all right, we've got some hope.
Yeah, there's a lot of good kids.
Protect them.
Yeah,
and you know, our job is to make sure they're good to go, but. We when I go to things like that, it's inspiring to me. It picks me up.
So how long has she been showing?
So Lydia showed for 3 years. She showed her sophomore, junior, and senior year.
Okay.
Abby showed last year for the first time.
Oh, okay. So they kind of follow each other.
Well, I think Lydia plowed that ground for her.
Okay.
And was a trailblazer for Abby. But Lydia's much more of the social butterfly. Loves talking to people. Speech contest was her thing. I mean, she loved that stuff. Abby's not so much, but Abby's the animal lover. Yeah. So anything animal.
Wow.
And I mean, she reads about it. She studies it now as an 8th grader. And so the showing side of it has probably been a little bit more suited to Abby, and the leadership side was more suited to Lydia. But I mean, this is perfect for both of them.
Well, we had thinking about Abby. You know, I, Abby, and my son Harrison took a little flight a couple of years ago. We need
just a short one.
Yeah, we need to do that again. We went up to Oshkosh to the EAA. What is it? Just Oshkosh, I guess.
Oshkosh, It's the great big air show.
Camped under the airplane wing. It was a blast.
Never stormed. We didn't have to worry about storms.
And Abby, she is a trooper. Whether it was storming or heat or whatever it was,
she did good.
She is your adventurer, I think.
Yeah, she loves doing that stuff. You know, I take both of them. They love to just rough camp, where we'll go in a tent or sleep in the bed of a truck with a tarp.
Hear that, girls?
Yeah. And we go turkey hunting in the mountains out in eastern Oklahoma all the time. They both of them love to just go.
Yeah.
And they're both hunters and both adventurers, both outdoors people, but. Yeah, you know, that was a fun trip. Just a story against you on that trip. If you'll look on the panel on the right side of your airplane, there are marks on the side where I was gripping in, and I think I bent the metal.
Call that a short approach.
Yeah, that was definitely a short approach because you couldn't see the dot. I think he told us to land on the green dot.
Green dot.
And
What
you
green
said,
dot?
"Where's the runway?" And I said, "It's below us."
So it's right there.
Yeah.
So
And you landed it, and you stuck it.
Did you say, Rob, you got a helicopter? Because it's right down
Yeah,
there.
yeah. You didn't even circle. You just pointed the nose down, and we touched down. And I
Those
used to-
T6 trainers, they can.
that was pretty awesome. I remember the air traffic controller, which they were awesome, by the way. They were
amazing.
And one of them, I remember him coming on the line as we're going for the nosedive for the green dot, and he says, "You can go around."
Right.
And you said, "Negative, we're good."
Yeah, we could. The option was there.
Yeah.
I was thinking he might come on and let us land on the parallel runway, which is what I was kind of aiming for anyway.
Yeah.
But it was too big.
Yeah.
They want us to land on the short. The green dot was literally, if anybody's ever looked at that, it wasn't where you expect. It's in the middle of the runway.
Yeah.
But these are huge runways.
Huge runways. Yeah. No, you did good. You landed it, greased the landing, and then we spent the rest of the time watching one of the coolest air shows I've ever been to. That was a lot of fun.
It was awesome. And my favorite time to use the short approach is when somebody really has to go to the bathroom, or even better, they got to have a smoke. Those are my really best.
Yeah, that's right.
So we served some time, and by the way, you're a pilot as well, Captain Bullard. You're a pilot as well. So we have that in common.
Yeah, not in a year. I haven't flown in about a year, but I do. Flying is kind of my great escape. It's a good way to get up and get away. And it's handy when you're trying to get somewhere fast.
Yeah, it is, especially when you live in a rural state like we live in. It's really handy.
Very much.
So you spend time at those shows, and so what is Redlands? I mean, you say embryology. What is that? I assume that's a pathway to veterinarian school, maybe, or?
Well, she had looked at vet school originally.
Okay.
And just really wasn't kind of what she thought she was interested in it, and went and did some observations. I set her up to do some observations with some different vets. Kind of figured out maybe that wasn't quite her thing, but she loves large animal stuff. And so she got introduced to this through showing. And every calf you see that's showing has been artificially inseminated.
Right.
And so we were looking around at different schools. Of course, she had 4-ride scholarships just about everywhere she wanted to go. She's just a super, super bright kid.
Yes, for sure.
And but Redlands caught her attention because of the embryology side. She started really reading into that, and looking into it. And essentially what they do, she actually got to go in and help with some this summer. But they find the perfect bull semen and the perfect egg.
That matches.
And they match it, and they fertilize them and grow it in a petri dish, and then they transfer it into a host cow. Now they can do it different ways. So I'm just giving one way that they do it.
Well, that's in vitro fertilization for those struggling with getting pregnant out there. And me and Lisa have been down that path, but probably didn't end up the same place.
Yeah, probably not quite the same, especially on a moral level.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but it's a really cool system because they just plant the egg in there.
Okay.
And it is as the maximum amount and the best beef humanly possible to create. That's why they're creating it.
Right.
And Oklahoma's leading the way on this kind of thing. The old the old days of just having a herd of cows and a bull that hopefully breeds them all.
Right.
I think probably is coming to an end to some degree, because now you can have the perfect embryo and just use those as a host. Use your cows as a host now. And there's a lot of money in it too. So
instead of having the stud type process, you purchase essentially the embryo.
You buy the embryo.
Or purchase the process. Yeah.
Yeah, the embryo, and you put it in. When we went to go do it, he was the best embryologist, and this is according to the college professor at Redlands. He was the best embryologist in the country, maybe in the world.
Wow. Okay.
And he works for the Express Ranch. Naturally,
yeah.
I mean, Bob Funk is not going to hire average people anywhere. And he actually took to Lydia, and they went in and had, I think, 6 that they were looking at. 3 of them were ready. And she actually got to have an upfront view of it, and he actually made her glove up and go in.
Oh my gosh!
And feel around on it. And I mean, I was proud of her. I wouldn't have done it. I'd have been gagging the whole time. But she.
I don't think it's for me.
No, not for me.
Yeah.
But
we need that.
She just thought that was she talked about it the whole way home, and so it's what she likes. She's going to really enjoy it. And then
that's there's so many areas for kids to get into today, and sometimes they go to our regular universities, which is great. But those paths that a lot of them choose there don't always end up with such a promise like this will be. Even after 2 years, there's probably stuff she could do.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. And she may expand and change. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know how that goes, but she's business minded. But you know, a lot of them don't use the degree that they have. I remember when I was doing my master's degree on public administration. That was one of the things we went and looked at. They actually made us research. You know, there's a group called After College, and they look at how many kids out of high school are attempting a college degree or higher, or even like I think they included armed forces as part of that. And about 60%, which is what the national average is in Oklahoma, were attempting at least a 2-year degree or higher. And of those, only 50% of them remained after the first year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know
They're
that.
not staying in college. They're getting indebted, getting indoctrinated, and then boom, here we go.
Right.
And then of those who actually graduate, only 11% of those were using the degree in the field that they studied in.
It's a problem. And, I saw a picture we got up here with you and Charlie Kirk. Some people criticized him for saying that college was a scam.
It is.
But if you listen to him talk through that,
Yeah.
what he's saying is college can be a great tool.
Sure.
Like if you go there and you research it and you find out, like Lydia's done, you find out what will work for you.
Correct.
And what will make you money. Let's just be honest here. But so many kids go in there and they just get sucked into the system. They get spit out and they're, assistant managers at Hardee's for the rest of their lives. I mean,
Right.
not that that's a bad position, but it's not
I'll go to
exactly
college for it.
Yeah, it's not what they envision going
Well,
to
there's
college
a
for.
statistic I read just the other day that showed that of the 6 million jobs available right now, less than 20% of them require a college degree.
Oh yeah, but there are a lot that want you to have a college degree, but a lot of them aren't very specific.
And as the baby boom generation moves out, my dad just retired a few years ago. He was an engineer at Lockheed Martin. They need more engineers. They need more nurses. They need more doctors. All these things are going to move up. We need more teachers. We need we need Christian men and women to step up and get back into that field.
Yes,
but we don't have right now an ability to crank those things out the way that we necessarily need to. And the reason why is they're offering degrees in underwater basket weaving, not literally, but that's essentially what they are, that don't lead to a career field that we need right now. So we're distracted by all these other things that don't get them anywhere when we need more engineers, more veterinarians, more doctors, more nurses. Those are the things that we need to be focusing on rather than gender studies and transgender whatever, this and that, and all the other CRT nonsense that comes into play with it. And so we have got to get focused back on what matters. But part of that is when I taught for 15 years. I watched it happen often. We would walk into a room to do an ARD manifestation meeting, and we're looking at how we place this kid so that they have the best environment possible. And I'm looking at a kid that has a 76 IQ or an 81 IQ. And they literally around the table, everybody was sitting there just preaching at the kid, you got to go to college. Where are you going to college? How are you going to college? At that point, we need to be asking that kid, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
Even if they have 100 and whatever IQ, we need to be asking the kid, what is it that you want to do? And we'll have you post-secondary ready. And I think this is probably where you're wanting to swing into at some point, but I'll go ahead and plug him now. That's what I see in James Taylor.
Oh, yeah.
JT sees what you and I are sitting here talking about.
Yeah.
And he and I have had long, extensive conversations over
Well,
this.
James Taylor is our friend that's running for state superintendent of schools. I fully support them. I believe Senator Bullard
very
does.
much. I've endorsed him. Yeah.
So he's got some concepts and ideas around this post-secondary, you say, to plan ahead.
Yes, have a plan. My wife is still in public schools right now today, and that's her whole point is every kid here ought to have a plan. And it's brilliant the way she's doing it. Every child here ought to have a plan for what is it that you want to do. My job is to help get you there. So if you want to go to college, great. We need the college degrees. You have all those positions I just listed off. But there is such a heavy need for plumbers, electricians,
Oh my gosh.
beauticians, cosmetology, everything under the sun right now we're in need of. Management positions, all of those kinds of things. You don't have to have a college degree. And so we don't need to send you out to go get indebted and indoctrinated in order for us to have those positions ready to go. You ought to have everybody kind of where they needed to go in order to have a good career. And by the way, send them out as a plumber, they'll be making really, really good money, better than I ever dreamed of as a teacher,
Yeah, you drive through a fancy upscale neighborhood these days. Yeah, there's the surgeons there, but there's the plumbers there.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it.
Electricians.
Yeah, plumbers like HVAC right now.
Yeah, and they can't find workers.
Yeah, no, they can't find anybody.
Yeah. In fact, when you came here, we got a little slow start because I was dealing with trying to find, and I have some good plumbers that help, but every single one of them will tell you, and HVAC people too,
Yep.
we can't find anybody. We'll pay them. Obviously they start off low, but as soon as they get the hang of it and are good, they'll pay them really, really good money.
Right now, licensed journeyman plumber, a good friend of mine who's a plumber, said right now, well, no, actually, this was several years ago, he would pay a licensed journeyman plumber, that's as low as you can go on the totem pole as a licensed plumber, that you are just breaking in. A licensed journeyman plumber, he'd pay them over $50,000 plus a truck.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
So,
easy. Even by the hour, you're looking at least $20 an hour,
Yeah.
and that's when you're not the go-to guy. I mean, that's
No,
so
you're the grunt.
you got out of college today. They always talk about engineers, and if you're going to go into school, great. You may demand close to six figures, but a lot of those degrees don't get 40, 50,000, 35,000 to start.
Well, and right now the problem is Common Ed has gotten into this view that they are the stepping stool to higher ed, that they are the training program, that they are the pipeline to higher ed. That is not what it is. That has never been the intent of Common Education. Common Education was there to make sure that they were post-secondary ready, whatever that is,
Right.
Which means you need to be able to read very well. You need to be able to write, put your thoughts on paper. You should be able to do high-level math that actually applies to what you're fixing to go do. And you ought to know your history and your government, obviously. We want those things there. And then, know the basic sciences. Though that's it. That's what you need to know walking out. Now, if you want to go to college, we need to bump that up.
Yeah.
But we need to be looking at that endorsement concept within our education system that says, tell us what you want to do. We'll help you get to where that is. And then all your classes are applied to whatever it is that you're going to do. So if you're going to do cosmetology, you better be pretty good at chemistry, by the way.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
If you're going to be doing any type of constructions, geometry ought to be your thing. I mean, you're going to use that an awful lot.
You need to have some good math skills. Yeah.
You need to have those.
And you
kinds
can
of
get
skills.
those all in Common Ed.
And those are all applied, right?
Yeah.
Those are all applied sciences, applied math, things that you need in order to get into that career. And then we're helping you do that. And by the way, what if a kid gets into there and they graduate high school and they have a construction degree and that's not what they want to do? Guess what you just gave them? You gave them a tool, which is what I had, a tool that you could use to go get your college degree and not be in debt anymore.
Right.
Which is what I did. I mean, I used what my skill set that I had and I worked, and that's what got me through college. And I got out of college, I think, with $1,200 in debt. Amber and I paid that off the first 6 months we were teaching. So, we have those things available now. We need to expand that apprenticeship concept and everything that goes on underneath it. But we've got to get us off of this college is the only way to a happier life mindset. And what we're doing, according to the numbers, is we're sending our kids to college. They go into massive debt. They get indoctrinated into thinking socialism is somehow a good thing.
And they forget what a woman is oftentimes.
Yeah, apparently it's just they have biological amnesia, and so we run into that problem. Well, why keep sending them there when they're just going to get indoctrinated into those kinds of things? What we're after is we want to be able to have kids post-secondary ready. Now, bear in mind, I don't want the school telling them you don't need to go to college. That's not what I'm saying at all. And we
got
get those
options.
You have to protect against that because schools will start becoming that way. But that idea of make a plan. What's your plan for after high school, and let us help you get to that point. That's what I want to make sure that we're doing. So, when I look at JT, and we all call him JT, so I don't know, Dr. Taylor.
Although James Taylor, Caroline in My Mind, if you love that song, just vote for him because the cool name. But yeah, JT.
Yeah,
that's kind of what we know.
We all call him JT. I hope he doesn't mind. I've never asked him permission, but I'm going to do it anyways.
And one thing I don't think I've ever seen his campaign, he's given most of the opening prayers, or many of the opening prayers, to Rose Day at the Capitol, which is our pro-life day.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't use those types of things on his campaign, but I would say that's the heart of James Taylor as well.
Well, and we can tell where we are on something by your position on life. If life is discardable and unneeded, and you're willing to just kill it at convenience, then it'll tell me where you are on every other concept that's out there. It doesn't matter what it is. And so the fact that JT is pro-life is a huge deal because it tells you he values every kid in those schools. He values them enough to make sure that they weren't killed in the womb. And then when we look at where's JT's heart, and I wrote this whenever I gave his endorsement. Dr. Taylor's heart is in every kid succeeding in school.
Oh, there's no question.
There's no question in my mind. And he has the ability to do it. But here's what I like about JT. He and I were talking about this earlier. One of the things that we've got to pay attention to especially on statewide, is it is irrelevant who the person is that wins that seat. If they try and go it alone, and this is about them in their next step, and this is about them trying to become whatever they want to be next. And you see that, you and I see this all the time.
Yes.
JT is about who can I put around me. He and I had a very long conversation about the fact that what he wants to do is put the best of the best of the best around him to make schools the best. And people who understand how to make that change, and people who have been active in turning a school around, and what does it take to actually get something done in your schools and get the grades and the scores that we need to teach them math and to teach them reading and writing at high levels. And JT gets that. That's something I haven't seen in very many people.
Yeah.
Dr. Taylor understands that when he wins, his whole focus is going to be putting the best people around him who understand education. It's irrelevant who he is if he's trying to do everything by himself.
Yeah, I think James Taylor, JT, Dr. Taylor, he not only will he do that, but I mean, when he was on here, his heart is, I mean, he's a teacher now, but he's also been a pastor. Mm-hmm. And imagine that knowledge base plus that servant's heart that goes into a position like that. I just can't think of any. This is not even knocking his opponent. I just can't, which is night and day between the two, by the way.
Very much.
But anybody he would be against, I would say, how can you beat that for your superintendent for your kids?
Well, and the understanding of what we just talked about, where he understands that it's not about him, it's who he surrounds himself with. His heart, when you combine it with the fact that his heart is about every person.
Yeah.
And here's what I know about pastors. I have served around some really good ones. Bill Ledbetter was my pastor for 20 years.
Bill's a pretty awesome dude, I
must say. More than a little bit.
Yeah, more than a little bit for sure.
And so I've gotten to watch the absolute best. His name's Bill Ledbetter.
Yeah. And
I've gotten to compare that against others that I've had in the past that were walking with me. But I got an upfront view to what pastors do and what they're not about just sitting up and giving a sermon.
Right.
But a pastor's heart is trying to save every person, to get every person to Jesus.
That's right. Enlarge the kingdom.
And every one of them matter. And why wouldn't you want that translated into your state superintendent, that every kid matters?
And JT, every kid, every person.
That's right.
He has such a soft. So you mentioned something else I know is near and dear to your heart, CRT, critical race theory, which is still around, by the way, in my opinion.
Yep.
Which I mentioned this to Kevin West, Representative West, who's running for labor commissioner.
Yep, another good
I've
one.
got another thing you mentioned that I want to bring Kevin in on, but we talked about that because I believe he was a House author, and I was a co-author. And I'll tell you, in my district, some people think I was author, and I always said, of course, Senator Bullard.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. But anyway, you did a great work on that. You and Senator Jett was very involved in that as well. But you did some great work on that, and that's education related. Where does that, because you passed the legislation signed by, it was Governor Stitt, wasn't it?
Yes.
Signed by Governor Stitt that disallows that in our public school. Where does that intersect in your mind? Because Kevin and I kind of looked at CRT and what it is. Where does that intersect with Common Ed?
It's the distraction that causes the problem. Rather than being worried about math, science, real science, observational type science, right? And matter of fact, a lot of the things they're into now on transgenderism and all the other things are completely anti-science. Yeah. Real history, math, reading, writing. Right now, we're focused on teaching these things, and we had one school, you know this, you were in office when it happened, that had their kids stand up and go do a white privilege march, and they had to walk around the classroom and apologize to everybody. That's right here in Oklahoma.
Yes.
We had a third grade teacher who in Oklahoma who was requiring their students to do write an apology letter for their white privilege. You saw them, and I dug in on that because there was a lot of people saying, well, critical race theory doesn't exist in Oklahoma. Y'all are just shadow boxing in the wind.
I saw it. I was given a video presentation,
Yes.
right here in Norman Public Schools.
That's right.
With the wheel, the fancy little wheel.
And part of what I run into is I'm a rural guy.
Yeah.
So I don't see it. I don't have the same things that you guys. Nobody in my district that I could find was teaching any of these things. They're focused on it. They're doing a good job, and they're working hard at it, and they're ready to improve, and they want the help to improve. We see a lot in the urbans. In some other schools, you'll see it in spotty around the state where you'll have some instances of it. But you see a lot of people who have gotten distracted about why they're there. And they'll make the excuse. I've actually had them when they've called me before. I'll talk to them. I don't have any problem talking to them. I don't agree with them for a second. But they'll say, well, what we're doing is we're creating an environment where kids can learn. No, you can't. You're creating an environment where kids can't learn because you won't teach them because you're teaching them this. You're focused on how they like to have sex. You're focused on all the sexual natures of everything. You're focused on hyper-racial critical race theory or all these other nonsense things. The emotional side of learning, And SEL, when it started, social emotional learning, was a good thing. And some teachers still today use it as a good thing to try and teach kids that may have other disabilities how to cope
Different
with this,
ways to learn.
But you don't use SEL in math.
Yeah.
You don't use SEL in history. It doesn't matter how you feel about history. Here it is. And so you have to go look at it and read things factually for what they are. But it is the greatest distraction that we have right now when we look at things that they're doing right now with the LGBTQ agenda in public education, with transgender agenda, CRT, all these other things. They've twisted SEL into something and perverted it into something it shouldn't be. These are the things that we have to pay attention to and get these distractions out of the way. How do you do that? Well, you have to be laser focused on the only things that matter. The things that matter in school is making sure that they know math, reading, real observational science, real history. Those are the things that matter.
It's pretty simple.
Now,
actually.
can you bait them into getting there by having football programs? Great.
Yeah.
But it doesn't need to be your kingdom, the god of your school, because they play ball good.
But Sooners better win.
Well, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Well, the Cowboys need to win some.
No, they don't. They'll just keep buying tickets anyways for the Cowboys.
Well, the CRT is a problem, and what's kind of ironic with this whole leftist movement, if you will, left hates stigmas. Oh, get rid of stigmas for drug addiction. Get rid of stigmas for homelessness. Get rid of, but yet these poor little white kids, let's put a stigma on their shoulders, saying for some reason you got to walk around with a chip on your shoulder or some stigma because you're white. You had nothing to do with that. Right. Anyway, it's bizarre. So, but bringing up Kevin West, you mentioned apprenticeship. He and I had a long conversation.
Yep.
He's running for labor commissioner, another statewide race. We mentioned James Taylor. Kevin West. Have you looked? I mean, he really is very strong. Which I don't know if I've seen a labor commissioner. We had Costello. Now we have Osborne. Nothing knocking against them. I think Kevin has some pretty bold ideas on apprenticeship and some other things that labor commissioner can get involved in.
Yeah, Kevin's another one that I've endorsed almost immediately. The second he said he was running, I said, I'll endorse you. Just tell me when. Because Kevin is one of those down-to-earth guys who ran a cabinet shop. Yeah. He's blue-collar as they get, and that's what we love about him. But by the way, everybody was scared to argue with him on the floor because he was one of the most brilliant guys in the House. He's a few stages past smart, but he understands labor, and labor depends. You have the labor force that we're missing is sitting in a classroom right now. Your goal is to get the plan in front of them to say, what do you want to do? Let me help you. And apprenticeships are they're the gateway to that. They're that bridge to getting the kids to that labor force, and he understands that bridge.
Do we have that in education? Because we always seem to have a shortage in teachers. And I know some of it has to do with its competitive pay, so it is difficult for the state to be competitive on pay. But that aside, do we have apprenticeship channel for teachers?
No, we don't have hardly anything on the teacher side of it.
So we can't take a college or a high school kid or a VOTEC kid and have them enter obviously they got to eventually get their teacher certificate. I just envision some kind of apprenticeship channel.
Yeah, I watched kids that I taught in school that are now teaching themselves. Sometimes went the roundabout way to do that, but they might come in as an adjunct or a paraprofessional and then work their way up from there. But it's incredibly low pay at the para level. I mean, we want to talk about teacher pay, and I think.
Oh, that's like
in
the
our
person
tenure-
that's helping?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
That is
They'll
low.
get hired on as a pair and then work their way up. That's a good way to do it.
Yeah.
But there's not a lot of money in it, and it's a tough way to get there. Substituting is definitely not it.
Okay.
You need to say a prayer every night for substitute teachers. That's the worst job ever created in human history.
Do they get enough hours? Because
No.
because in pharmacy world, we're it's hard for me to relate because in the pharmacy world, there's never enough pharmacists. So substitute pharmacists do very well, but in the education world, that's not the case, right?
Yeah, no, they don't pay them just a whole lot. Now, a lot of that is they're not a certified teacher.
Okay.
I mean, they don't have a degree in it, so
Right.
that's part of the problem that you're running into.
I got you. Okay.
Now, I mean, I will also say I know a whole lot of teachers. I have a hard time saying you have to have a teaching certificate in order to be a decent teacher. I am friends with a whole lot of people who got their emergency certification. They have a degree. They don't have a degree in education, but it actually might make them, in a lot of instances, some of the best teachers around because they've been out and worked the job. So whenever they're talking about geometry, or in Kevin West's example, I mean, he understands everything to do with angles, degrees, all of that stuff. And so we don't really have a pipeline like that to really help teachers get in per se, but we do have that lower level systems to work them in. It's just it doesn't pay near enough.
Yeah, I think another thing you and I have kind of in common is so my successor is far superior to me as a senator than I am, and I'm humble enough to admit that. You, on the other hand, followed somebody that I'm going to have to say that you're far superior than your predecessor. So the analogy works, right? We got to be apples and apples. Anyway, you succeeded our good friend, Josh Burkeen, now Congressman Josh Burkeen.
Yeah.
My wife, Senator Standard, succeeded me. I mention her not only to give her a little plug, but also because she has a really cool idea. That's why I was asking, because I haven't really talked this through with her that much, and I don't understand her legislation completely, but it's something about finding a different pathway, like apprenticeship or something. And she filed legislation on this, but I guess the chairman didn't hear it, but to go with that. So maybe you and her or you and some other people could work on that.
No, I remember her idea. I thought it was actually a brilliant idea. Anything that we can do that is constitutional and ethical to try and help more people have a pathway to get an education.
Or whatever, like Kevin said, whatever they want to get into.
You know, it doesn't matter what it is, and you got to get them at a young enough age that they could start doing some of those things. And I'd have to think back on her bill. Her bill was looking at allowing so many hours of teaching and observation count towards their degree, if I remember right. And I think it was trying to help them get a boost into college.
It was using the concurrent program that we currently have in some fashion. Again, I'm going to misspeak this, but one day I have to have her on. But anyway, she it's somehow using the concurrent system. I'll just say it simply. I don't understand it completely, but it's using that, giving some points or whatever credit for that, but getting them right into education. So they choose it when, let's say, they're a junior or sophomore in high school.
Well, and that's the trick. If you can get them in early to that kind of a degree program, then you've got them a lot longer and a lot better and a lot higher success rate of getting them to get in there and stay in there.
Or maybe they love it. Maybe because they really want to be there.
Yeah, and to be a teacher, you have to want
You
it.
have to.
I mean,
I'm telling
teacher
you.
is a calling.
Yes.
But I will tell this. I'll say this too.
For my kids, anyway.
In that, yeah, mine too. In when I was working on my master's degree in administration, I read several studies that were talking about the tenure of teachers.
Yeah.
Average tenure of a teacher, 4 years.
Well, I didn't know that. 4 years, really?
4 years.
Oh, that's not good.
And I can tell you why. Because I went through
now,
this
that's
phase.
not all those teachers taught my son. Just to
May takes after his dad. But the first 3 years of a teacher's career is spent just trying to build everything. I mean, there were nights I'd stay up till midnight just trying to get a lesson just right, and then go get a few hours of sleep and come back and try and teach it the next day. You are just trying to keep your head above water in most of these situations. And this goes back. Let me take a little side bump here to the CRT question. Let's say I'm a teacher, and what I want to do is teach U.S. history or whatever the best way, right? And now I'm being told there were schools in Oklahoma that were requiring their teachers to join a BLM group.
Really? Well, that's
okay.
Ridiculous.
Why?
Yeah. Like you don't have enough on your plate.
Correct. Or they're really forcing this DEI stuff down your throat. Well, I'm a conservative teacher, and you wouldn't believe how many conservative teachers I've had that have come back in and said, well, David, they're forcing us to do things I don't want to do, but I'm scared to speak up because they'll fire me, and they knew that they would. So these are the big distractions that we see when we're looking at it. But one of the things that we looked at in this study right now that it wasn't pay that was pushing teachers out or making people not want to get into the field. It's discipline.
Yeah, I've heard that.
The number one reason people don't want to get into education, and there's a lot of information on this, is because they don't want to have to deal with the discipline. Because right now, in today's world, kid cusses you out, you just have to sit there and take it. Yeah. If no rational person should ever be forced to take that kind of abuse. And yet we're asking our teachers to do it all around this state right now. And lawyers have run this, no offense to the lawyer, but lawyers have run this because they'll say, oh, no, you can't discipline them. You might get a lawsuit on that.
Right.
We need to be disciplining these kids and protecting our teachers right now. I run that teacher bill of rights for how many years, just trying to make some sort of way for or forcing schools to protect your teachers from this kind of abuse. Right now, if you want to see the largest portion of physical abuse, it's at the elementary schools. I mean, our poor elementary school teachers are just getting beaten up, stabbed, punched, slapped all the time.
Well, my kids go to private school during their primary years and then go to public school. And I've noticed talking to teachers that come over to the private school, the pay usually isn't as good or not, but they come there a lot of times because either they're want to finish their last few years at calmer air. Yeah. But I think a lot has to do with this idea, this discipline problem.
Yeah, if we don't start protecting our teachers, we're never going to fix the teacher pipeline shortage that's there right now. There's a lot of attraction to teaching. Amber and I, when we got into education, she and I had the conversation. We knew we were going to be lower middle class, and we were fine with that because in the summers I could rebuild a house or build decks or whatever to make extra money, and we were fine with that. But the schedule was very friendly, and we loved what we were doing. I miss it terribly. I loved watching the light bulb go off, and I loved being the one that asked the right question or did the right project or presented it in a way that made that light bulb go off in kids. Teachers are that way, but it's going to be tough when you're side railing these teachers with all the other distractions that are out there, telling them they got to do all the liberal left junk, when what they want to do is they want to go in and teach math.
That's right. And I bet the left teachers are the same. They just want to teach.
They just want to teach.
My daughters have gone to Norman North schools, great schools, by the way. I think they're fantastic schools. You always have some folks in there,
sure,
politically I wouldn't agree with. But even when I meet a teacher and I think, this teacher probably doesn't politically agree, I found them to be stellar. Yep. And so, but what hurts Norman schools, in my opinion, on occasion and gives them a bad rap is they let that leftist stuff come in. That's you just got to close the door. And I'm sure it's tough for superintendents and principals in a place like the People's Republic of Norman.
Yes, I'm sure it is.
But for most part, I think the superintendent does well with that. It's difficult, but the state, like your Teacher's Bill of Rights, you could probably do more to again give those principals and superintendents cover.
Yep.
So they can say, you know what? Sorry, you can't make the white privilege march today. It's not in our curriculum.
It is definitely not something you should be doing.
Right.
And you brought up Josh Burkeen. I mean, then Senator Burkeen ran a bill that I've run several times, where you ought to be protecting these teachers if they're teaching some of these more leftist things, but they're actually using primary source data against climate change and global warming.
Right.
Well, why is that our focus? Why are we not trying to teach actual real science? And if we want to, let's look at all the data, even the data that proves that, no, that's not really actually happening. So if you're going to present one side of the argument, present both. But we run in that all the time because you have teachers that don't want to teach that stuff. Evolution's another prime example of that. You have tons of teachers that come to me all the time. I don't want to teach evolution. But if I don't teach it, if I teach creationism, or even if I don't teach creationism and teach naturalism, well, they're going to fire me because I wouldn't do it. We see this time and time again in schools. And this is what JT is so strong on. Kids are the only thing that matters to him.
Yes, for sure.
So what JT will do is remove the distractions and get the teachers the help they need so that kids get the best education they can there. And he's hyper-focused on that.
Well, I tell you, I always love the evolution, intelligent design, because both take immense faith.
Actually. Oh yeah, very much.
Very much. I told my son this little story the other day. Like, imagine you're in the desert and you've not ever been exposed to any mechanics or cars, or you just, you grew up in a desert village, that ride camels or whatever. So you're walking one day and you walk over a hill, and sitting on this little dirt road is a brand new Corvette, top of the line, with the hood open, the engine running. And one of your buddies is going to ask you where that come from. I don't think you're going to say it came out of the sand, just evolved out of the sand. You're probably going to say some super smart person probably built this damn thing.
Yep.
And so for some people that have so much faith in evolution and just discard intelligent design, like they're not intelligent. But it's baffling.
I would always have the argument to try and have the argument, which evolution does, that nothing created something, is a really, really poor argument.
It takes a lot of faith.
It takes a ton of faith. And by the way, there had to be a catalyst to the something.
Right. And mankind's the most intelligent creatures we've run across so far, for the most part. And so
we've seen a few of them.
Yeah, but they haven't yet been able to recreate some of the amazing machines that God created when he created the human body, the human flesh. And so our eyeball, our heart, we've yet to recreate these simple machines to God.
Yep.
Anyway, it's baffling.
Yeah, it's one of those things. If we can get rid of the distractions and just get laser focused on math and reading, and there's things that the state can do to help that. But to be honest with you, at the local level, until the local level becomes serious about we care about math, reading, writing, real science, real history. I don't think that you'll ever see change until the local levels, the local control idea comes back to say this is what we really want.
Yeah.
We can at the state level pass all the laws we want, and we should try and take away the different distractions like critical race theory or the gender neutral bathrooms and changing rooms. You were there for all of that, the DEI stuff. I mean, but those, to me, from a state level thing, I think the state has a limited role within the schools, public schools. One would be protection of civil liberties and civil rights. And that's what we worked on with civil CRT, critical race theory, and things like that. Those are in direct violation of civil liberties, no doubt about it.
Right.
I think that we can do licensing much better and help teachers be good customers to our teachers for licensing and things like that. And then standards and curriculum are really, really paramount, that we get those right on the textbook level and then standards.
So that
level.
all of our kids.
Yeah, that's right. So that we have standards there when we move our way up. Other than that, you and I both know we don't change the scores until the local school says we want to take math, reading, science, history serious, and then we're going to go after it. And I will say this too: you have so many of your schools that are working hard at this and doing well.
No question.
And you and I both know it's leadership as well. You have. I had somebody once tell me, I'm a proponent of the 4-day school week, and you may not be.
I'm not.
See, I'm for it because if they're a good school and they go to school 4 days, I don't care.
Right.
And I had somebody say, no, if I could, I'd make them go 6 days a week. And I said, here's the problem with that. Here's the problem with that. If you have bad leadership in your school, you can go to school 7 days a week, and you're still going to have a bad school.
Well, you make a good point. I mean,
yes.
Yeah. As anybody that sat on the back row with us would know that we don't agree on everything.
No.
But you can be wrong on a few things. It's okay.
That's what makes it so much fun is we sit back there. You and I fought harder on the back row against each other, arguing back and forth, or where are we on this bill? Where are we on that bill? That was what made it actually kind of fun.
You want what's, I think, when the legislature is the most valuable is when you have independent thought throughout, and that independent thought is allowed to express itself. And that's within the Republican Party, within the Democrat Party, and across the aisle. And I saw that most of the years I was there, and I still see it some, but I think we need to make sure we allow that. We got to have freedom of thought to get the best ideas through.
Well, I work with a lot of candidates around. I worked with lots of candidates in open seats and stuff, people who want to run. You and I both know I don't work in incumbent seats. I've never worked in incumbent seats, and I'm not going to. But I work a lot in the open seats because I want to make sure that I get the most independently minded person possible. And here's what I found. When you find someone who understands biblical principles and has a biblical worldview, guess what you'll usually find? Someone who thinks for themselves.
That's right.
When you have somebody who's not, they usually groupthink with everybody else, and they just do what they're told and move on. And they may claim to be a Christian and believe the Bible here and there. There's a lot of them that do, but they really don't follow what the Bible tells them. What I have found is when I find somebody who understands the world from a biblical understanding, you will find someone who thinks for themselves.
Well, talking about an independent thinker, then we need to move to an incumbent seat.
There you go.
Our good friend Dana Prieto.
Yep.
Awesome senator, came in 4 years ago.
Yep.
In fact, I feel like I kind of co-mentored him with my good friend Joe Newhouse. Joe Newhouse was his official mentor, but I sat two chairs away, and I really enjoyed Dana. Really enjoyed Senator Prieto. He's a really good man. I don't know if I've actually come on one of my podcasts and endorsed, but I endorse Dana Prieto fully. I think he's a great senator, and he's fun, and he's such an independent thinker, which is exactly what you're saying.
Dana does a good job. There are times he'll walk back and he'll say, "Why are you a yes on this?" or "Why are you a no on this?"
Right.
Because he read the bill himself, he thought it through, and he may have gone and asked some other people. We all do that. I mean, there were times I would call you tonight and say, "Rob, where are you on this bill? I don't understand what we're even doing here." And you'd say, "Oh, no, here's what's going on." So you do that kind of a thing, but Dana thinks for himself enough that he can argue back and forth with you. And sometimes you can win him. Sometimes he's just a no, I'm where I am on that. That's what you want. You don't want somebody that's squishy. I call those the squishies. You know, they'll just go wherever they're pushed to. Might be this or that. What I want are people who are where you are. And wherever that is, I don't care. Tell me where you are on it. And if we don't agree, you and I can go get barbecue, and we're good.
Except that not that hot chicken, though.
Yeah, no, I don't like the hot chicken stuff.
Now, Payway, yes.
Yeah. Oh, Lord, no. No.
Well, this is a promotion for Payway. Don't you know
we
that?
We will not get into what I actually call Payway. But
yeah, because they're not a sponsor. But anyway, my son loves Payway. That's the reason I like it.
Yeah, thank goodness we don't have one in Durant.
Yeah.
So, but that's what I'm looking for, and Dana Prieto fits that bill.
Yeah,
Dana is conservative. I would almost have to say that he is organically conservative. He is just naturally, because he thinks that way. You're not going to change him, which is what you want. Yeah. You don't want somebody that can get chest bumped around up there, because the second you move off of where you are, they'll start pushing you all over the place.
It's hard. I've told young members before, and I don't mean young in age, I mean young in the Senate.
Yep.
When I was there, I said, be careful, because again, a lot of the votes you cast, you know this, Senator, a lot of the votes you cast, you're like, you know what, this isn't moving mountains. This isn't that big a deal.
Right.
But if you allow yourself to vote the way people push you, then I'm not going to say bot's the wrong word, because I mean, it doesn't mean they're bad people, but it means they're meaningless, kind of, because people need to wonder where you're at. I mean, honestly, people need to wonder, say, oh, David Bullard. I mean, obviously, if it's a very conservative issue, Bullard is probably going to be for it, or against a very liberal issue. But they want to, as a senator, I think you want people to come to you and explain to you why you need to be where they think you need to be. I believe that.
Well, what I wanted was somebody, number one, to be honest with me. And you and I saw it. There's very little honesty up there. When you find somebody who is who they are, say they are every time, and are going to be, or if I told you, Rob, I'll be a yes on your bill, and then I figure out something, then I call Rob and say, Rob, I love you, man, but I can't be yes on it. Here's why. So you're allowed to change your mind up there,
sure,
as you learn and research and go through it, or somebody gives you an argument that you like. The honesty is the biggest part of all of this. But to be able to have somebody who can say, this is where I am, I can't change, and I'm not going to change no matter what threats you get. So what's the biggest threat that we get up there? They're going to get you an opponent.
Right.
Which is what's happened to Dana.
Right.
They've got an opponent that they're now, the leadership of the Senate is actively campaigning against a guy that goes to all the same fundraisers, goes to their caucus, votes in their caucus. He's an honest, genuine man, and now you're going to attack him?
I don't understand
that.
Now, I see where members, I mentioned on here previously this year about one of the senators in leadership that gave to somebody that was going against the incumbent. But I'm not bashing that person for that, but it isn't very common.
No.
I don't, amongst the Republican caucus, it might have been the first, but at least a direct contribution. But now, where a sitting leader is endorsing opponents of incumbent, I'm not sure if even the Democrats ever did that. I mean, that seems, again, I try to always say this with all due respect to leadership. I mean, I don't understand how somebody that's duly elected from the group actually goes out and goes again. I mean, because my opinion is once I elect a president, that's my president, whether it's of the Senate or of the country or the governor of the state.
Right. And
I respect that. So it's very unusual. And I think Dana's handled it pretty well, but any voters in Owasso should know that Senator Dana Prieto is a solid conservative guy, somebody you can trust.
Well, and you got to ask yourself, why would they do that? Well, the answer is they couldn't push him.
Right.
Right. So then with Dana, that's what you want. You want somebody that's going to stand and be who they said they are on that push card that they mailed into your mailbox. Dana has been exactly what he told him he'd be when he ran 4 years ago. He hasn't changed. He hasn't moved off of where he is, but he can't be pushed. He can't be bullied, you know. And what's funny is a lot of times he'll go ahead and vote with them on the issues that we have in the middle. I mean,
he's like, I can vote.
Fine. He'll vote with them. Yeah, I don't care. I don't see the boogeyman in this one. And yet here we are doing that thing. It's just I've got several friends of mine that have been around the Capitol for a long time. I mean, I'm talking when Democrats had a full handle on the Senate and the House, and they have all told me we have never ever seen anything like this. This is a bad idea.
Yeah.
Because it is declaring no one now is going to want to speak up at all and give you they'll just be a no vote. Not even they're not going to want to participate. I mean, if I'm in that caucus right now, why would I ever want to go to a fundraiser that could be raising money that's going to potentially go against me?
Yeah.
When
the minute you misstep, David, watch yourself.
Yeah.
The minute you step off, you don't vote right. Because I mean, let's flip over then to another gentleman.
Yep. This one's probably even more egregious.
I don't understand this one at all. So I have a lot of family in Yukon, and Senator Stewart, I've talked to them. A lot of family in Yukon. Great place. Jack Stewart, Senator Jack Stewart is Yukon. He's John Wayne.
Yep.
Senator Jack Stewart is Jimmy Stewart. John Wayne rolled up and won. The guy is one of the nicest guys you'd ever meet on the planet. I don't know as if he ever said a bad word about leadership or anybody for that matter. He's not a member of any type of splinter group or anything like that. And yet the leader of the Senate has actually endorsed his opponent. That one baffles me completely. Because Dana's been courageous enough occasionally to say, hey, leadership's wrong on this, which I think he's in his right to do. But Jack, I don't know. I don't get that one.
No, I don't either. And what's interesting, Jack usually votes with leadership and stuff. He'll vote against them whenever but there again, he's independent minded. He doesn't. He's not just going to go along to get along on things. He's got his principle. He's got as far as he's going to go on something, and he has to go the other way. Never seen him be rude about it either. No. By the way, Dana or him, I've never seen him be rude when they've said no. I got to be a no. I've never seen them be rude on those things. So that's that's the big question is if you're attacking somebody like a Jack Stewart, that creates a bigger problem for me because everybody knows Jack is probably one of the nicest men in the Senate. Yeah. He is good as gold. Yeah. He usually votes with them. Every once in a while, he votes on his own way. I'm kind of the same way. I vote with them where I can.
Yeah, because it is a caucus. You want to try to
move on. I mean, if we're talking about in one of those gray areas, I'll stick with them wherever I can on it.
Yeah,
I'm not there to try and blow the whole thing up. But at the end of the day, it's just right now the leadership, the way that they're behaving, has lost all trust and respect around the state. Because you're attacking two men that really haven't done anything to you, and a lot of times vote with you on things. So it's a travesty in a lot of ways, but it is not going to make. We will never have unity until that is done away with.
You can't, because if you're in the Senate or in the House, you can't really be a leader and lead in fear, and to build this culture of fear where you're going to be afraid of the knife in your back every minute. In fact, I would say that caucus members ought to rethink where they're at. I mean, at least change that culture. I mean, I don't know how you can change it this late in the game, but I mean, I don't.
No, I don't either. I mean, the thing about it is, you don't heal a caucus with fear. You create an even deeper chasm between them. Yeah. So these two endorsements don't solve a single problem within the caucus. They make them 10 times worse than what they were. Now all of a sudden you're going to have just a lack of participation and still have the same resistance that you had before. And what you build a unity on is fairness. I was elected by 88,000 people or somewhere thereabouts, and everybody else in that caucus were all elected by 88,000 people. And their expectation is I'm going to go up there and be a lone voice. As a matter of fact, I can't tell you how many people when I ran the first time said, David, when they tell you to sit down and shut up, You better not sit down and you better not shut up.
Is that Josh that told you that?
Yeah. Josh had different advice. But that was one of those things. We will see a deeper divide because of this. The caucus isn't all of a sudden going to be healed now.
No, this does grave damage, I think. Grave damage for years to come.
And it's going to take a decade at least to get over this.
I think it's going to take some time. Yeah. I think it was damaged a lot in the last few years I was there. I've said this. I think the leadership then was horrible. And so I think that set on a path that I was hopeful and prayerful that the current leader would have fixed, but he didn't, unfortunately. And I understand people hit at him and punch at him. I get that, but that's what you get in that position. You just have to take those punches and go on.
You better have thick skin.
You got to have thick skin, and I get it. But I had hopes that wouldn't, but it doesn't seem like it's okay. So, but you mentioned something earlier. It's hard to find honesty. It's hard to find genuine people. We have another gentleman that's running for a statewide election that may be the most honest and genuine person I've ever met in the political world.
Yep.
Who's that?
Marty Quinn.
Marty Quinn. The Mighty Quinn.
Yeah.
Not Party with Marty.
I don't know. He's got too many slogans. I'll tell you that too. I was laughing because I had him down to Durant.
Bullard, it's hard to find the names that rhyme with Bullard.
Yeah, I told him, I said, you're putting pressure on me to find some rhyme for Bullard, and everything I come up with I can't say on here in front of kids.
That's right.
So I've decided not to do that. No, when you talk about somebody, I served with Marty for 4 years when he was there. You and I were there, I think, 6.
6 years, yeah. 6 with Josh and 6 with you.
Yeah, I had Marty Quinn who sat up there, and it was the same way. I mean, when we were on the back there, Marty would come back there and say, now why are y'all here? I can still hear him coming back and saying that. And there were many times, because he always stayed up on the front, that he would walk back to the back and he would always say some pearl of wisdom that even now today I repeat, because he just had an understanding of the whole thing, that 30,000-foot view of what the Senate should be. And I always admired him about that, because sometimes in the Senate we get down in the weeds, and I think a lot of people get lost in that.
Yeah.
They get down in these little things and they find that one little fight, or they're just trying to hang on to the power that they have, what little power it is and matters. And they just get dug in on that one thing. And Marty always seemed to me to be that guy that stayed up above it, and he could see the whole thing. I think what made Michael Jordan, who's the greatest of all time, we can have that debate if you want, but
he is the GOAT.
If you say LeBron James, we may have to fight.
No. But Michael Jordan may be the GOAT of athletics. Although you got Tiger, you got Jack Nicklaus, you got some other great superstars in sports.
But as far as athlete goes, there's nobody better. But what he could see was the whole field. He could see the whole court at one time, and it was just like he understood it. Marty was that way for me. Marty Quinn could see the whole thing, and I've seen that translate into him running for insurance commissioner. That's why I endorsed him. Marty sees the issues, and he can see that from a standpoint of a conservative bubble that says, this is what the problem is. We've got to get government out of the way of insurance, because right now government's causing the problem. Remember the old Reagan adage, worst words you can hear are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
That's right, yeah.
What's happened to insurance, the more we've dug into insurance, the more mandates we've done, the more things, and Obamacare was the ticker to this thing. The more we've seen that happen, insurance premiums and rates they're crippling my people in the state. And Marty has that above the clouds view to look at it to say, I can see this whole problem holistically. And you combine that with a man who has the integrity to go up there and do what's right no matter what. That's the guy you want right now, fixing one of the biggest problems I see in the state.
It is one of the biggest problems, and I spent some time in Florida. I almost did a show from down there. I was going to call it my Southern Command Post in honor of Rush Limbaugh. But I love Florida too. I love Oklahoma more. It's my home. But they really had this issue, and I didn't know this till I talked to Marty and another friend we're going to talk about here in a minute. I did not realize that Marty had studied the problems in Florida, because Florida has just went through the same problems, probably by different causes, but their insurance rates went up. Mine doubled and tripled over a period of like 1 year, and all these insurance companies pulled out of Florida. And so Marty has studied that. He's found out how the governor and the insurance commissioner and the legislature in Florida have fixed that problem as of this year, by the way. Literally, my insurance rates just in the last couple of months have gone back to almost to let's call it insurance inflation levels. So he has a plan. I know he can execute that. But I had another guest on here the other day that probably, with all due respect to you and Senator Burkini, is the most brilliant senator that I served with, by far. The guy is just a genius, especially when it comes to numbers. And him and Senator Quinn and hopefully Commissioner Quinn, they're going to, if they take Mike Mazzei's plan combined with Quinn's thinking, they're going to solve the insurance deal. And so I was going to ask you who that person is, but I blew it. So have you talked to former Senator Mazzei, gubernatorial candidate Mazzei, about this insurance issue?
Yeah, some, and I've heard his answers and listened to a lot of how he's addressed it, and it's brilliant because we need to understand there are lots of problems that we're facing that are not unique to Oklahoma.
Right.
Every state in the union faces them or has faced them. So we have a playbook to go look at to say, how did they solve that problem? Your greatest coaches of all time went back and they looked at, okay, how did they solve this problem? Because I've got a different team on the field, right? They always have to face that new little issue that they did, and then they go back and they figure it out. One of my favorite movies is We Are Marshall. And, I don't know if you've seen that movie.
I don't know if I've seen it. It's a football movie, right?
Yeah, it's a great movie. Matthew McConaughey in it. And he takes over after the entire team dies on a plane crash, except I think 4.
Okay.
And so he has to recruit freshmen to come in, so they have to change their whole program. And he goes to another school and he learns the veer because he has a really good quarterback that's fast and he can just rely on him to shuffle the ball around where he needs to. We're going to have to use something like that kind of a playbook, because what I like that I've heard Mike and both Marty Quinn say is that they want to go study how other states have beat this problem or how they're currently beating this problem, and then take those ideas and make them stronger here in Oklahoma. We can beat the insurance issue. This isn't some dead-end thing. We've beaten bigger things in Oklahoma, and came out of it stronger than whenever we went out of it. I mean, this is the state that stared the Dust Bowl in the face.
Well, Marty told me that USAA, which is a big-time insurance company in Florida alone, went in one single year from $3.7 billion in outpayments on lawsuits to less than $200 million in 1 year. And so there was a lot of frivolous lawsuits going on in Florida, and I know because they were going on all around me after Hurricane Sally. So it's and Mike has looked at that and beyond. But I find Mike impressive on so many different levels. And property tax, I know you have put forward some ideas on property tax legislatively. I know Senator Standers has put forward some, and others have put forward ideas on property tax. Mike gets it. Mike gets the property tax issue. He's talked to seniors. I mean, obviously he's attacking the two areas, the low-hanging fruit, if you will. But from a fiscal point of view, I really feel like Mike has the knowledge base and the intelligence and the way to develop those relationships with the legislature to get something done. Yeah,
I would agree, especially on the tax side. You and I talked about this. This was our back row conversations so many times in the back of the Senate chambers is, if we don't get property tax going the other way, we're doing good on income tax, not good enough, but we're doing good on shifting income tax and starting to whittle away at that.
Yes.
But if we don't get the trend of property tax going back the other way, we're going to catch Texas. In my research, what I found and when I was digging through some of the numbers is, right now in property tax, our increases in the last decade have been about 148% increase. 148%.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
So when you look at Texas is way higher than us right now. But if you look at the chart, Oklahoma's doing this. Yeah. And if we don't stop it, we're going to be in it. Now, the problem is Texas is so deep into this thing right now, there's nothing Texas can do about it. They can talk tax reform all they want.
Well, now they proposed a $148,000 exemption last year. Now, it didn't pass.
Yeah.
But I've heard talk from down there that they're going to move their exemption to a level that's going to, first-time home buyers almost get no property tax.
Yep.
That's the goal I've heard them talk about.
Yep.
And I think they'll get there. They only meet every couple of years, so.
They do. I hope that they can, but if Texas doesn't, I don't think their economy can last with what they're doing, because you can't afford to own homes. We are taxing ourselves out of home ownership right now, and we're doing it in Oklahoma.
We are.
Why are we following that model? I just talked about all the different models with insurance that we could do to solve some of these problems. Education, same way. We can go look at other ways to solve the education issue. We're not pioneering these issues on our own. That's the advantage of being a federalist nation. We have other states that have autonomy to go do what they want to and how they fix these problems. Let's go look at what they did.
Yeah.
How did they solve this issue? And tax is one of them. So far, what I found, there's 9 other states right now that are desperately going after property tax reform. Why? Well, let's go back and look at the income tax question. Of the top 10 fastest growing economies in the world, those top 10 fastest growing economies don't have what? Income tax.
Probably income tax, yeah.
And those same ones that are trying to now reform property tax are also still those fastest growing ones. Why? Because companies and businesses want to move and get their employees into places that they don't have to pay an income tax, and their property taxes are going the other way. The other problem that we've run into is we've got to freeze property taxes until the actual sale of that home. Well, I've heard you talk about this. You and I have talked about this several times. That is a tax on unrealized gains.
Senator Mike Mazzei talked about that on my podcast the other day.
So, if I'm a young person right now, the chances of somebody who is 18 to 24 right now being able to own a home are slim.
Yeah.
Why? Because they cannot predict how fast their property taxes are going to go up. And so they're scared to get into that market, and they should be.
And insurance is a problem.
Oh yeah, same. It's
they're at the same time, house prices are going way.
That's right.
So it's just a catch-all for our young people.
And so I don't think that we'll ever. What concerns me right now is if we don't fix the property tax problem, we're going to be in a housing crisis problem for too long. And remember 2009, whenever we hit that big bubble collapsed, and it became really, really tricky on these loans. This is going to come back and get us again on this if we don't get this under control right now. Beyond the constitutional side of it, right? I always go to the Constitution first, and it is my belief that a property tax is fully and patently unconstitutional under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution. You have the right to not be deprived of your life, your liberty, or what? Property without due process of law. I've committed no crime.
Right.
I've paid my home off, but I'm still renting it from the government at that point. Let's get down to the practicality of it is we want more people owning homes. We don't want them renting.
We do.
We want more people buying homes, fixing up those homes, selling those homes, moving their way up. That's the old American dream that from the 50s and 60s that everybody wanted.
It's the foundation kind of the American
We're destroying the American dream right now with property taxes, and we don't have to.
Yeah.
We can move and translate into a consumption tax model that will still support your schools. This nonsense knee-jerk reaction that's out there is every time we say we're going to pass a bill that makes a longer-lasting light bulb, you're going to destroy public education.
Yeah.
If we pass a law that says that everybody has to use paper straws, or they'll come back and say immediately you're destroying public education. I mean, every excuse right now is you're destroying.
Yeah. We've got to get away from that.
Property tax reform does not destroy public education.
Well, no, in any pragmatic politician like Mike Mazzei is. Mike Mazzei's extremely conservative, but he's very pragmatic.
Yep.
So he's going to look at this just like he's looked at, like I said, low-hanging fruit. He knows he has the money, or we have the money as counties, to do away with seniors and disabled veterans. But there's probably not the money yet until we look at it and we do the calculations and we figure it out, whether we move to a consumption or however we do that. But
think about this as well. One thing I've heard Mike talk about that is brilliant. By the way, Reagan was right. How about that?
Yeah.
Supply side economics works. So if I put another $5,000 to $10,000 in the hands of a senior citizen who's living off of bologna sandwiches 3 days a week because they're trying to figure out how to keep their home, their property that they worked all their life to get, they're not going to save that money. They're not stuffing it under the mattress. They're going to go spend that money, and your economy's going to spin up. You're going to have a lot more money to spend on your schools. By the way, one of the things that we've talked about, the upside for public education in your county governments under a consumption tax, the sky's the limit. Right now, we have this glass ceiling called a property tax that says we know for a fact you're not getting any better than this. Even though we can see it, you're not getting any better than this. As the economy spins up and we figure this out on supply side, the sky's the limit is on how much money the schools and the county governments could get. It's just astronomical. So to be honest with you, schools would be better off with a consumption tax than they would with a property tax.
Especially a growing state like Oklahoma. We're a
booming state.
We're a receiver state.
That's right. We are a booming state. So we have to do that. And Mike gets and understands, if you want people to actually own their property, and you want this younger generation, this Gen Z, to actually have the opportunities that you and I had to own a home, the thing you've got to get on right now is property tax. If you don't start that trend going the other way, then you're going to have a problem.
Well, I mentioned Florida. I have family with property in Florida, and I have family with property on the ocean in Florida. And I know, because I've looked at the property tax bill, they pay less for a piece of property where you can put your foot in the ocean.
Yeah.
And the house value is a lot more than I pay. My property tax for my home is a lot more than that.
Yep.
Thousands of dollars more. And, I love my house. It's not by the ocean. It's not by the mountains.
Yeah.
And it's not as high a value. So, and I know Florida has other sources of revenue, but they understand, and especially Ron DeSantis, he understands, as hopefully Governor Mazzei understands, that we got to make homes affordable however we do it.
From what I've heard in all the debates and all the rhetoric running out there, you clear away all the smoke and mirrors and
all the
everything going
trashing, yeah.
He so far is the only one I have seen who actually makes any sense on reforming taxes, property or income.
He has plans. He has plans for everything, and that's Mike Mazzei. He's not a financial planner for no reason. He's not made a fortune in that private sector world because he doesn't know how to plan.
Yep.
He has plans now. Whether they can execute it, he understands. He was in the Senate. They might not execute just like that, but
you study.
He is the conservative in the race by far.
Oh my word!
He's the only conservative left in the race. And he is the smart. I mean, this is not a trashing the other guy, but he's by far the smarter one of the two. And he has the plans to back it up.
When I look at a governor's race, I'm going to go back to what I said about JT. It's not about, I look as much about who I think that they'll put around them as I do the person themselves. I'm watching who Drummond is surrounding himself with. This is not good.
Yeah.
I look at who Mike Mazzei is surrounding himself. And you and I are not one of them. We're,
right.
We're not promised anything. We're helping
Correct.
Mike Mazzei because he's the most conservative guy in the race by.
Although I did talk the other day about Jake Merrick, who has a ton
Sure.
of knowledge in DHS, not working for, but helping Mike.
But the fact that Jake Merrick is on that list is what gets me excited.
Right.
Because he understands that Mike Mazzei himself doesn't do it, but he's smart enough to put the people in the room. And then he'll start, what I really like about Mike Mazzei is he'll start crunching the numbers on these agencies. You and I have had this same discussion.
Yes.
Sitting in the back. Why are we not digging in against these agencies on how they're spending your money? You want to talk about how to end the income tax right now? It's sitting there being misspent right now in an agency.
Because the agencies, I ran the right side up government my whole time there, where you take those liaisons and make them fiscal analysts. But that being said, I understand agencies want the same money or more that they got last year. They're not going to go out there and out of their way to tell you, well, programs C and F are not working, Senator Bullard, so please defund those.
Or they're the same. Or the exact same thing.
Please defund them today. Please take our money away. Yeah.
And
so you got to go in and find those.
In one of the greatest men I've ever met in my life, Dr. Tom Coburn.
Oh, yeah.
I was at a forum I got there early. I was actually helping set it up, and he stopped and talked to me, and I was just, of course, I hadn't run for office. I was a teacher at the time. Of course, I'm in Gaga land just talking to the man because he's such a legend. And he said something to me that has always stuck with me. He said, David, just remember, agencies have one mission, and it is never to shrink, ever.
No.
It is never to get smaller. It is never to be more efficient. It is never to do a good job. It is never to provide the best services to the state of Oklahoma. It is to grow and become more powerful. It never changes.
It's human nature.
It is. And you have to have someone who is freakishly nerd-like, detail-oriented.
Brainy.
And his name is?
Mike Mazzei.
Mike Mazzei. Yeah. I mean, I was talking with him the other day because I find it absolutely despicable that Drummond is going after him for the way he talks.
Oh, my gosh. That's the most disgusting attacks.
That is beneath the dignity of every office in this state.
He had he technically should have died in his car wreck.
That's right. And this man is actually the story of overcoming one of the most horrific things ever that any of us could ever face. But I had Mike, when we were meeting with a group, I said, would you just explain to them, why this is? And he said, well, let me be frank. He said, I wasn't exactly on the football fields dating the cheerleaders, doing all that kind of thing in the great athletics. I was always a numbers nerd. So I always think things through and talk a little bit weird, but yes, the accident caused some of those problems. But I want the nerd.
Well, it's also just, everybody's different. He has some mannerisms that are unique
Sure.
to him, but but his strengths far outweigh both any weaknesses he's had, and far outweigh even the strengths of his opponent. And Colin, I mean, maybe this is a Freudian slip by Drummond. Maybe he would want to take it back, although I've not heard that. But to call people fascists because they want low property tax, because they want low income tax, those of us that support Mike Mazzei are not fascists. We do want lower income tax. We do want lower property tax. We want great schools. We want well-paid teachers. By the way, Mike would like to pay teachers more than all of our neighboring states, to be honest with you. Yeah. So this idea that he doesn't like teachers is the dumbest thing I've ever. He has teachers in his family. His wife is one. His wife, that's right. So he would love to have his wife make more, not his wife, but like teachers. So this whole idea, all this trash that the opponents, Mazzei pointed out that Drummond gave to Democrats all day long. That's fair. That's what happened.
Yep.
And he's given to the Lincoln Project. That's reality. But the stuff about Mike and his brother, these are all lies.
Yeah.
All of those are lies.
Well, and like I said, if I have my choice, I don't want the cool guy. I don't want the guy that has the swagger to him.
I'm not running.
Yeah, no, not you. I want the nerd.
Yeah, for sure.
And my apologies, Mike, for calling you a nerd, but I want the nerd. I want him. I want the guy that's going to go dig in and have just this remarkable, higher level than anybody else that I've ever seen on crunching numbers, understanding numbers, being able to see ahead of those numbers. That's what I want running that. I mean, can you think of anybody else better to run Doge than Elon Musk?
All right.
No, because that's what he does. He just digs into those things. And you have the Elon Musk of Oklahoma.
Yeah, you do.
In Mike Mazzei, who's ready to go in there and dig in and go find the efficiencies and then return the inefficient thing back to the most efficient thing we can do, which is give the money back to the citizen, the taxpayer. And we were talking about Marty Quinn earlier, and that's the thing about Marty Quinn. Marty, he and I had very long talks before I endorsed him, and one of the things he said that I have total respect for is he's going to look out for the ratepayer first.
First, yes. And he will.
And he will. Now, we need insurance companies, and we want those kinds of things, so we're not destroying them. There's a lot of good people in insurance. But I'm worried about the ratepayer right now. Same thing happens under taxes and the way we have inefficiencies within our agencies. I want the governor that's going to look after the taxpayer first.
Yes.
Not the agencies. And I think right now you have such a staunch contrast between the two. You have one governor that wants to grow the agencies under the guise of, I'm going to create better services, when you and I know you get to a better service because you actually go in and scrutinize every single agency out there.
And you get the right people. It's key.
Well, and I go back to what I said under James Taylor.
Yeah.
It's not about Mike Mazzei. It's about the fact that I know I have complete confidence that Mike Mazzei is going to put the best around him. Yeah. I heard Trump one time say the best comment I've ever heard a president say. He said, I understand that I'm not the smartest guy in the room, but I'm smart enough to put the smartest people in the world right next to me.
That's what he does. And that's what Mike Mazzei will do.
And that's what Mike will do.
It's going to be a contest on who's smart because Mike's brilliant. But he is humble. But he's tough. Yeah. One thing that's said about him, I saw a commercial from his opponent. I was like, not tough. Oh my gosh, this guy essentially got put through a meat grinder in an accident, and he never lost his toughness. Because I dealt with him. I told him this was, our first interaction was not 100% positive. We butted heads a little bit on a liquid natural gas deal I was working on. But we became friends in the process, and I learned that Mike is brilliant and tough. And when he finds somebody he wants to work with, he works with them. And so I think he will make a phenomenal governor.
Well, and think about this for just a minute. I don't want somebody who's just tough for the sake of being tough.
No, right.
You need to be tough on the right things, and you need to be able to listen and think about the others.
Right.
So with Mike, what I see is a principled toughness.
Right.
But he's not just out there barking off on let me put it.
And it's not an arrogant tough either.
That's the thing I'm after.
Yeah.
Mike is very, very humble. I mean, when he came to Durant, he went and talked to, I don't know, hundreds upon hundreds of people, was very down to earth, very transparent with every one of them. And when we got done, he was in between events and he said, man, I'm hungry. Let's go to a burger.
Yeah.
Let's go to Brahms. Is there a Brahms around here? That's what he wanted. He wanted a Brahms hamburger. He didn't want to go to some fan. I mean, he's a very humble guy. But he's tough, but he's tough in the right places. Yeah. I'm not looking for somebody to go after and sue a Catholic school for being a charter school. That's not tough.
Right.
That's not what I'm after.
It's not Oklahoma either.
No, I'm not looking for somebody that's going to cave to the ACLU when they come in and say, we want to create a deal so that you won't enforce the law on transgender surgeries.
And I bet you were a co-author on that bill as well.
The language primarily came out of a bill that I filed.
Right.
It's a shame that I didn't get to run it, or want somebody like a Nathan Dahm, who had run that for 4 years before we got to that point, didn't get the privilege of running
or
that
my
bill.
Cause of action language wasn't in there. But.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we run into.
But I'm appreciative of the bill done. But
right.
yes.
But I don't think it's tough to tell the ACLU that you're not going to enforce the law when you're the chief law enforcement person in the state.
You don't have the right to do that. Actually.
No, you don't. Yeah. So what I like about Mike is he's tough in the smart ways, and that's all I want. But like I said, I want the nerd. I'll take the nerd. I want the guy who is going to over scrutinize every agency under the sun. And that's what I want. And he fits every aspect of what I'm after.
Yeah.
Does he have to have the swagger? Does he have to walk with a little bit of a limp like John Wayne? No. I don't really want that, because what we've seen in the past is when we have those kind of characters, those people don't get along and get a lot done. Yeah. Because they don't know how to do those kinds of things. Mike's already been in there for 12 years. He understands how the system works. But he is right on the principle. He is dead on the numbers. He landed his plane on the green dot, unlike some people I know.
Yeah.
He is right where he needs to be on touchdown.
Yes.
And he's what we got to have.
Yeah, I think so too. He knows how to work with others. It'll be a collaborative with him leading. And I think it's great. So if we talk through, David, we've talked about several races, start at the Senate races. So we have Senator Dana Prieto. Get out and vote for Senator Dana Prieto, and it's a Wausau, right?
Yes.
Wausau. And then we have Jack Stewart, awesome dude out in Yukon. Get out and vote for Jack Stewart. And is it El Reno too, I think? Or
yeah, he's got part of El Reno.
Okay.
Yeah, here's the thing on incumbents. So when you look at somebody like a Jack Stewart or a Dana Prieto, they've already proven who they are.
Yeah.
So why would you give that up to go to somebody who says there's something else when you already have two men that have already proven that they're principled, good conservatives, and they can get a lot done for you?
I think so. I think those guys are tried and true and proven.
Sure.
So then you have Labor Commissioner, our good friend Kevin West, who I think I feel good about him winning that. I mean, I know that his opponent a little bit. He's a decent guy, but Kevin West is solid. He is a great guy.
Oh, yeah. No, my endorsement of Kevin West is in no way an indictment on John Pfeiffer. I mean, John's a good guy.
Right.
That's not my point. I look at the qualifications of an individual, and then I go dig into who they are from a conservative standpoint. And I always am going to gravitate towards the most conservative person. And that takes a lot of research. I get it. Yeah. A lot of people out there don't know Kevin West.
They don't have the time. That's why we're doing this. They don't have the time.
But when you've been in the trenches with somebody, you learn who they really are.
Yes.
When the shots start firing, are they going to stand up and shoot back, or are they going to sit in there and cower in the foxhole? And every one of the people that are running that we're talking about, Dana Prieto, Jack Stewart, Kevin West, Marty Quinn, JT, Dr. Taylor's the only one that I haven't had the privilege. Well, I guess Mike Mazzei I didn't serve with, but I have a lot of examples of watching and hearing what he did when he was there. These are people who have stood up in the middle and in the face of this left nonsense ideology and made smart, intelligent arguments, and they have proven their character. I don't have to guess where they're going to be when the bullets start flying again. These people are going to do what's right. They're going to do what's conservative. They're going to do what's constitutional. They're going to do what's best for the taxpayer, the ratepayer, the person, the individual liberty person that's out there. These are the people that you want fighting for you. They're already proven. You don't have to worry about them.
Yeah, so I often say this about voters, especially Republican primary voters. I mean, their lives are busy. Dave, we both know that.
Yep.
It's difficult to see past all the fluff. So they get all this. I wish some days all those mail things and everything would go away, and people would have the hour, 30 minutes, hour and a half to actually research on their own. But we know this. A lot of voters rely on those mailers, as bad and dishonest as they often are. So I'm hoping that viewers will see this and say that, okay, we've looked at these, which ones are the most conservative and the most that would do the best in these positions. And I've had several good guests on, Jake Merrick, Senator David Bullard, Kevin West, even Mike Mazzei. We've had people on to educate people. So I think today, the message is clear. Kevin West, Dana Prieto, Jack Stewart, Marty Quinn, James Taylor, and most importantly, maybe not most importantly, but at the top of the ticket, Mike Mazzei. These are good, solid people, as you said, David, tried and true, proven.
Yep. And let me give you one more lesson or message to send back on why these 4 are so important. Well, actually, even the 6, when you're talking about Dana Prieto, I'm talking about on the 4 statewide. There is a difference in someone who campaigns one way and then goes up to the Capitol and does something totally different.
Right.
And I cannot tell you how many people I've talked to who have said, we are so sick of people who say the one thing and do another. You and I have a
happens a lot, by the way.
70% of the time,
yeah,
maybe more.
Yeah.
You and I have the privilege to be able to go in and see the behind the scenes, really who they are.
Right.
So the reason why you and I gravitate to those 4 candidates and the 2 Senate candidates is that we've sat behind the scenes, and everything they said they were on paper, they are when they got there.
They are. It's simple, actually.
And for a lot of the people that are running against these other ones, we either don't know because they're not tested and true,
right,
which is the case in the incumbent Senate seats, or we know for a fact that they're not anywhere close to what they say they are.
Or they're certainly not anywhere close to what the candidates that we're endorsing are.
Correct. And here's what's interesting. There is a mission out there right now to redefine what a conservative is. You've seen it.
Yes, for sure.
There are people out there who hate you and me because we're conservative. And they're the same ones voicing and running for office right now against people like Mike Mazzei and Marty Quinn and James Taylor. They hate you and I. Yeah. They hate conservatives. And here's what's interesting. There was a Gallup poll done.
And they're manipulating Republican primaries.
And they're trying to convince you that they're conservative when we know for a fact that they're not. I would prefer it if they would just go ahead and run and say, I'm a moderate.
Or a Democrat.
Or I'm a Democrat. I'm a liberal. I'm a liberal Republican, take it or leave it. But they don't.
No. They send out the same mailers.
And in the Senate we see the same thing.
Yeah.
We'll see people who were fighting us nonstop and making fun of us because we ran a bill on transgender surgeries. And they turned around immediately and said, no, I'm conservative. I love those things. I love the fact that we ran that bill. No, you didn't. You were the one sitting in caucus mocking us and making fun of us because we did run it.
Yeah.
You're the one who, every time we tried to do a tax cut, fought us on a tax cut. These are the same people turning around trying to convince you, no, I'm for tax cuts. I'm a conservative. So the ability to lie is now is what is driving most of what you're seeing in these elections. Trust us when we tell you we have seen both of them.
Yes.
We know who they are.
Yes. On every one of these races.
Every one of these races.
Yeah. The incumbents, we know the incumbents are tried and true.
Correct.
Right.
And they are exactly what they put in your mailbox. Right. They are what they are. So in
fact, I think Dana Prieto's opponent was a Democrat just a few months ago, actually. Ran as a Democrat before.
Yes. Well, so was the state superintendent just a few years ago. They were both Democrats.
Okay.
Well, there's a reason why they switched.
Because they want to win.
Don't buy the lie that says that I am all of a sudden my heart completely changed and I am something that I've never been.
Right.
Take the one that you know for a fact has been what they are consistently. Mike Mazzei, when he was in, was consistently conservative,
yes,
and he was a fiscal hawk. Even if on some of the social issues he might not have been as conservative as I wanted him to be, he was a fiscal hawk, which is what you need right now.
No doubt.
JT, you can go back and watch where this man has stood on a lot of different issues. That man is staunch. He understands the issues. He knows how to get it done, but he is actually a conservative.
And a common sense conservative.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, you could almost call us Commonwealth conservatives. I mean, That's what we are. There are some that'll try and paint us to be this far right nonsense, whatever.
No, that's another thing that people are trying to paint conservatism as if it's something outside the normal. It's actually 99%. I'd say it's 70% of all of Oklahomans, probably 99% of rural Oklahomans. They believe in small government, lower taxes, lower property taxes. They want the schools, they want the teachers to be paid well, but also they want their kids not to be taught nonsense.
Yep.
So we agree 99.9%, I guarantee you. So when Senator Bullard and myself tell you about these folks, it's coming from that point of view, common sense conservatism.
And it's interesting that usually you will see the lines, the accusations, or the come out of the same person. So the same guy that says, no, I'm conservative, is usually the one that's going to start calling you and me Christian nationalists.
Oh my gosh.
As an example, Drummond has called us Christian nationalists.
And fascists.
And fascists, right? Same language as the left. Pay attention to these traits.
It's painting you as a Hitler. I mean, we call communists communists because they say they are communists.
Right.
There's no person in this country, I would be willing to bet, that's a normal conservative that would want to, they would like to hang Hitler. Well, we won't get into details how they would hang him.
Right.
But
it would be bad.
It would be really bad. And
Right.
so there's no way on this earth that name is so hurtful.
But
it's
see,
so wrong.
even think about fascism, for example. I mean, academia has tried to change what fascism really is. Fascism is socialism.
Correct. Yes,
And
it's a form of socialism. Yes.
It is.
It was created by Mussolini, by the way.
Who was a socialist.
Socialist. But what I'm saying is, when you call somebody that name,
Correct.
You're not calling him Mussolini. You're calling him Hitler and
Well,
Holocaust.
And what do they always try and say? It's a right wing, whatever.
No,
they try and say that every time.
It's a left wing.
Go back and find an old book that defines fascism for what it really is. Fascism is what we're seeing out of the left right now.
It is exactly that.
It's the shutdown of the argument, the lack of freedom of speech, the lack of freedom at all.
That's
and
right.
It's a totalitarian government desire to grow government, get more and more involved. Government solves problems. So when you see somebody who's using the language of the left, trying to redefine what a conservative is, and we know for a fact that they're not, these are the people you need to stay away from. But there's an even bigger point here than that. When you look at conservatives' spectrums, right? When they do a survey, you've seen those surveys. Those surveys will ask you, do you view yourself as moderate, somewhat conservative, or very socially conservative, and then they'll go to on the left side. There was this poll done, a Gallup poll done, that showed from 2015 all the way up to, I think it was 2004, those who identified in Oklahoma.
2024, you mean?
24, yeah,
Okay.
I'm sorry. 2015 to 2024. Those people who identified as being very socially conservative went up 8% in that short amount of time.
Oh, really?
And I'm talking about people who that's as far right as you can check.
You know why they feel that way? Because the leftist radical ideas that Drummond seems to align himself with, like men and women's bathrooms, men and women's sports.
Yep.
He's part of the reason why WNBA is in a conclave watching Matt Walsh's What is a Woman right now.
Yeah.
In Hawaii.
Yep.
But anyway, so because those things have been mainstreams, I think it makes normal people feel like they're really not over here. They're really not. They're really here. They're normal. But it makes them check the box over here, I think.
And I think you and I can acknowledge, I've heard Ben Shapiro and Charlie Kirk, who I listen to a lot. Charlie acknowledged there was this far-right element, but it's just a remarkably small element of people that are over there that
Right.
are way over there on that side.
I think they've made their way back to the left.
I think that they probably have. I do think ideology is probably somewhat circular in some ways. But what they'll do is try and paint you as being this far-right radical,
Right.
when the reality is we're mainstream conservatives.
That's right.
You and I are.
Yeah, just small government.
You and I are a very big reflection of what most of Oklahoma is.
Yeah, I'd say at least the Republican Party, 99%.
Yeah. So then
70% of everybody.
So then go back to the slate of candidates you have. Dana
Right.
Prieto's not far right.
No, Dana Prieto is a common sense
is
conservative.
a mainstream conservative.
In fact, he believes that DHS, he's a big hawk on DHS. He thinks they should be funded properly.
Sure.
So it's not like I want to defund them. No, I want to fund them properly, make them provide the services they're supposed to provide.
I've heard him put it the best. He wants to burn them to the ground and then build them right back up the same way.
Right.
He's not saying go away. He's
Right.
saying they're not even a reflection of what they should be.
Do your job
in a
right.
proper role of government.
Right.
Jack Stewart is every bit of a mainstream conservative. He is probably a better reflection of Oklahoma than what you and I may be.
You want to see Jack Stewart? Watch Sons of Katie Elder.
Yeah.
Or It's a Wonderful Life. When I first met Jack Stewart was up at Bedlam Barbecue.
That's one of my favorite movies.
I was with you. Sons of Katie Elder. Oh,
Yeah, I
me
love
too.
that movie.
But we were up there. I didn't know which one was a candidate. I was invited to lunch and to meet a candidate, and this big old guy sits down. I thought, well, okay, well, maybe that's him. And so he comes over and he starts visiting and talking. This guy, I mean, he is you want him as your grandpa. I mean, this guy is, and that's not fake. That is real. Because I didn't know that. I thought, well, this is a lot of times you meet guys and it's the candidate. They're all this, that, and a cup of tea, but they're really not. But this guy's real. He's genuine. I mean, Jack Stewart is a phenomenal guy.
But I'll say that about all of them. I mean, when you meet Mike Mazzei.
Oh, he's a phenomenal guy. Well, it's unfortunate most people couldn't meet him, because if they did, they would love him.
Well, and what you'll find is he's mainstream conservative. He's you and me.
Oh yeah, smaller government, lower taxes.
The majority of Oklahoma, and what he's after, they see the government. We're not here to remove all government whatsoever.
No, you have to have government. It was raised by the people, correct, for the people.
Your founders were not anarchists.
That's correct. Yeah.
Your founders believed in this.
A few were, but they lost.
Your founders were very, very limited government.
Yes.
More on the efficient side of it, and then leave people alone and let them do it. The free market capitalist system is the greatest destroyer of poverty we've ever seen in world economic history ever.
Oh yeah, for
Mike
sure.
Mazzei understands free market economics better than any human being in Oklahoma.
I think so. Yes.
And I think that he brings that there. You will not see somebody with a passion for people greater than Dr. James Taylor. You will not see somebody who understands labor any better than a guy that's done blue collar labor his entire life and is brilliant. You will not see anybody or find anybody out there who understands insurance and the entire 30,000 foot view of what's wrong with insurance and why it's going up than a guy named Marty Quinn. Every one of those mainstream conservatives who really are authentically who they say they are, and all four of them, all six, when you talk about the 4 statewides and the 2 incumbent races in the Senate, all 4 of them have a biblical worldview.
That's true.
Which means they think for themselves, but they understand that without religion and morality, society will crumble and fall beneath your feet. So you have to have that as your fundamental principle, but those 6 guys get it. There's no more clear-cut choice than those 6 men.
I agree completely. Well, we got to have this again, David, because we talk mainly about these candidates. We need to chat more about fishing, sailing, all these other things that we've got into.
I'm always good with that. I'll show you the picture of Lydia's buck she shot last year.
Well, then I will show you. Recently, I did my first offshore fishing, by the way.
Ooh, that's a lot of
which
fun.
I know you've done that.
Oh, it's a lot of fun.
And you did it last time, I think, down at Dolphin. Is that right? Or something?
Yeah, we went to Dolphin Island down in there and went redfish.
So we did just a few weeks ago. One of my best friends came down and met us in Florida, and he scheduled it, chartered, and everything. Harrison caught this snapper, the biggest one this guy had caught this year. The guide is about as long as it was called a mangrove snapper. Never heard of that. Of course, I haven't done deep sea fishing. That thing was as big as this table. Yeah, but it's about as big as Harrison. But
they're so much fun and some of the best white flaky meat you've
it's
ever
delicious
had in your life. It's unreal.
My middle daughter, her boyfriend is a phenomenal cook, and him and her cooked that up, and it was amazing.
Yeah, no, that's good stuff.
Yeah. Anyway,
let's do it.
Great time.
Thanks,
Enjoyed
man.
it. Thank you, David. Appreciate it.
Thanks, bud.